J.P. Morgan was born on April 17, 1837 in Hartford, Connecticut. Right from the start, it was pretty clear he would become a banker. His dad, Junius Spencer Morgan, worked with another American, George Peabody, in a bank. J.P. grew up knowing he would take over his dad's job. He traveled between the United States and Britain to sell U.S. bonds to London investors. These bonds were riskier than the European bonds at that time. When George Peabody retired, he left the entire bank to J.P.'s dad, Junius, even taking his name off it. In 1864, the first Morgan Bank, J.S. Morgan and Company, started. By then, J.P. had finished school in Europe and was learning to do what his dad did in New York, while his dad handled the more important part of the business in London. After the Drexel-Morgan merger, J.P. took on more responsibilities. This merger expanded the business, made international connections stronger, and added more money to the bank. As his dad stepped back, J.P. started doing more work with companies going public. He got really interested in railroads, owning shares, managing offerings, giving money, and even putting Morgan's employee on company boards. With the railroad becoming more important across the continent, J.P. chose a great time to make his bank richer and increase his own influence. As the 20th century neared, people like Morgan, Wall Street, and U.S. government got worried because the U.S. owed a lot of money. Wall Street thought we needed a stable currency before fixing this issue. They picked Morgan to talk to the president about it. This made people think Morgan was a big shot on Wall Street, and they got mad about switching to the gold standard, which seemed bad for farmers in a mostly farming country. Morgan became known as the Maine rich guy, often called a robber baron. Morgan, along with others like Cornelius Vanderbilt and John D. Rockefeller, believed that too much competition was bad. They thought combining companies and making them bigger would be better. Morgan, using his influence and reputation, encouraged the formation of trust and merger in industry with too much competition. While people remembered him for trying to control the steel industry with U.S. Steel, many other companies he helped create were good for the economy. Companies like General Electric and International Harvester, now Navistar International, boosted technology and helped farmers, even though Morgan was accused of hurting them through rail trusts. But despite what people thought, Morgan's bank didn't have as much money as it seemed. It needed help from the growing financial sector to handle big deals. Morgan's reputation made people believe he was in charge whatever his bank was part of something. This made him seem like the leader of the Wall Street. However, having a lot of influence brought problems. People accused Morgans of hurting the economy when times were tough and making too much money when times were good. His power, while important, also made people criticize him a lot. At the start of the 19th century, people had mixed feelings about Morgan. He was both disliked and respected, but in 1907, he showed his cards and gave government and the public something to worry about. On March 25th, 1907, the New York Stock Exchange went into a scary period of panic selling, where everyone was selling their stocks in a hurry. This strange event fixed itself, but it made the financial community realize that things were not right on the stock exchange. Morgan, who was 70 years old and kind of retired, was on vacation while this strange thing happening in the summer and the fall of 1907. By October, a problem was brewing. On October 19th, Morgan went to New York to try to stop the financial disasters. Morgan used his many connections to bring together everyone involved in the U.S. economy. Even the U.S. Treasury gave $25 million to help Morgan's effort to get more money flowing and keep the market from crashing. From his office, Morgan sent messages to the exchange and banks, making sure none of them closed their doors. But he slowed down how quickly money was being taken out of the system. People counting money were told to count slowly. Religious leaders were asked to preach calm in the sermons, and company presidents and bankers were all gathered in Morgan's library. In the locked room, Morgan made everyone agree to a plan. Basically, they would create more money to support the financial world like the government does now in the similar situation. This plan got approval from the president and the panic went away. Seeing that only an older banker was preventing the United States from a financial disaster, the government quickly worked to change the banking industry and set up the Federal Reserve System to prevent such crises in the future. After the panic of 1907, JP Morgan faced both praise and blame. People already saw him as the robber king of Wall Street, and his action during the economic crisis didn't help. Instead of enjoying his retirement, Morgan had to go to the Pujo Committee, which was a government investigation into money trusts. When he talked to the committee, Morgan spoke about bankers' code that was usually not talked about. He mentioned the importance of characters and moral responsibility for bankers. But it became clear that big banks on Wall Street had a sort of secret agreement controlling a lot of countries' credit. After these investigations, Morgan's health got worse. As he declined, the era of gentleman's business of Wall Street, or some people call baronial rule, came to an end. On March 31st, 1913, the person who was seen as the hero during the Panic of 1907 and the alleged kingpin of Wall Street died in a hotel room in Rome. While JP Morgan is mostly known for banking, he was also into other things. He invested in and worked on projects in growing industries like railroads, steels, and agricultural equipment. People had different opinions about Morgan. Sometimes he was seen as the robber king who hurt the economy. Other times, especially during the Panic of 1907, he was seen as the economic hero and someone with strong character and moral responsibility. When JP Morgan died in Rome on March 31, 1913, people estimated he had about $80 million of assets. In today's money, that's around $2.3 billion. Some people think his fortune at its peak might have been as much as $60 billion in today's money. During his life, Morgan did many things. He was a banker, a financier, sometimes called a robber baron, and sometimes seen as a hero. Nowadays, we talk more about big companies dominating Wall Street, and it's unlikely that one person, whether the head of Federal Reserve or the leader of the nation, will have as much power over the financial world as Morgan did.